Hello, 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 friends. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that elevator music. I sure did. It is so fabulous to see some familiar faces in the chat. Hello, Elle. Hello, Maricel. Hello, Hillary. Hi there, Ben. I am so happy to get to chat with you today about something I'm very passionate about, and that is marketing without social media. So I hope you are ready for that. I also loved how many of you came early. Thank you so much for that. Let me switch over to my slides and then we can get started. As I mentioned, today we are discussing how to get web design clients without wasting time on social media or spending a cent on ads. Whether you are like some in the chat who are like, I just don't want, and who said, it's good and all, but it's actually a little bit time consuming. No matter what your reason is, no problem. We're going to talk about alternatives today. So, what if the way that you have been told to get clients is actually setting you up for failure? This is something which I see quite often. And some of the marketing advice out there I don't love. So I want to share with you some better ways. So here's what we're going to be chatting about today. First, we're going to talk about why traditional marketing advice keeps you stuck, how booked out designers actually get clients, all of the nasty marketing pitfalls to be aware of, and also how to choose the right marketing strategy for you. And then we should also have time. We have exactly an hour together. We should have time for a little bit of Q&A. So if you have questions as I go throughout the presentation, pop it in the chat, and we are going to save and star some of those so I can answer them for you at the end. So at any point in time, throw them in the chat. So if we have not met before, it is lovely to meet you. My name is Paige. I am a self-taught Squarespace designer. I did not go to university for this, and I really just figured out how to do it myself. But now I have taught over 7,000 students how to build a web designer business too. Now, the most fulfilling thing that I find in my work is seeing designers go from struggling to confident and fully booked and maybe even making a waitlist too. But I get that for you, maybe that feels like a far off dream, and that is okay. Because believe me, no one starts at that place. For me personally, a few years ago, I hit a wall in my business, specifically because I was spending so much time on social media. And honestly, I would observe my feelings. I would be on Instagram and I would observe myself and just be like, you know what? I don't think that this is bringing me joy. Like, I actually think that this is making me unhappier every time I open this app. But, like probably many of you, tell me if you can relate, I was kind of terrified. Since I had started my business, I had been on social media. And so I feared what would happen if I quit. And especially because it felt like literally every single other entrepreneur was on it. So it wasn't really an option to not be. But I asked myself the question one day. I was like, okay, what if I just stopped? What if I just could quit social media without hurting my business? Even if I had to take a hit, it still would have been worth it to me. So I didn't immediately do it because, to be honest, I was afraid that I would quit, and maybe you feel this too. I would quit and then have to go like crawling back to social media later and being like, oh, hi, I'm back again because actually couldn't get any clients without it. So what I did instead was I just like didn't post anything for months and didn't say anything either. Like I didn't make my intentions known or anything to the world. And in that time, I was really like observing, okay, how is my business doing? How are leads and everything? And the result was my business actually grew in that time. And now the reason that it grew is very, very important for you to understand. I was already doing other marketing strategies. So my advice to you is if all of your clients or a majority of your clients right now are coming from social media, then please don't quit cold turkey tomorrow. There is a method by which you can continue doing your social media things now and build up another marketing strategy and then, leave social media in the wayside later on. So at some point, it was August 30th, 2022, as we can see, I posted my official Instagram breakup post. One of the reasons that I actually did decide to go on social media to post about this was because there was someone, and I mentioned this in the chat earlier, there was someone who DM'd me being like, are you still alive? Is your business still running? And I was like, oh, this is not good. I should probably say something at some point so that people, and I literally wrote, I'm alive was the first line. So anyways, the thing which I have noticed over time since that, 2022, more recently, last 6 months specifically, the interest in how I do this, people are like, how do you run a successful business without being on social media? The interest and the questions about this keeps growing. We were looking at different topics to do this presentation on, and we were like, you know what, social media is going to be the most, not being on social media is going to be the most popular. I've had some YouTube videos on this that have done really well, and people have invited me on their podcast to speak about this. So, you're not alone. If you're feeling like I don't want to be on social, don't worry, you're literally not the only one. So let's talk about why traditional marketing advice keeps you stuck. So the truth is this. Most website designers believe that if they just show up more, post more, stay top of mind, that the clients will come. But in reality, a lot of that effort is actually wasted. What if I told you that some of the most successful designers I know don't ever post on social media? And what if I told you that there are actually multiple better ways to grow your business? So the thing which I find is really disheartening about the whole social media game is that, say we're posting on social and it's like, okay, well, I'm getting some clients from it, but it's not actually doing that well. When our marketing isn't working in general in our business, we internalize it and we just stare at the blank screen, dreading writing another post. We hop from focusing on one social media platform to the next social media platform, thinking that, oh, maybe the platform is the problem. And if I change the platform, then that's going to fix my marketing problem. And then we watch other people book out their businesses and wonder, why is this not working for me? And maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And that's when all those negative thoughts creep in and you think like, oh, maybe I'm just lazy, or maybe I'm not disciplined enough, or maybe I'm just not as good as all of those other designers. And the thing I can tell you is this. My husband is actually a high school teacher. He teaches English and history, and he sees this all the time with his students. The kids who struggle the most, it's rarely about their intelligence. It is often about their interest. In the subjects that they love, they absolutely smash it. And in the subjects that they don't love so much, it's like pulling teeth. And their grades also reflect that. So when our marketing isn't working, this is the thing. Honestly, I was the same way. Like in terms of what I enjoy and don't enjoy. I've had jobs where I wasn't the best team member and I didn't really enjoy what I was doing and I kind of dragged my feet, and honestly, someone else might have been a much better fit for the role. I procrastinated and I avoided tasks and I felt very unmotivated. And then I've had other jobs where I was the absolute best in a team of hundreds, where I thrived and work felt really natural and just effortless, and I excelled beyond what I ever expected. And again, it just felt easy. And the difference was not that I changed as a person. It wasn't that I suddenly became more disciplined or more hardworking. It was that I was doing something I actually enjoyed and it there felt easy. So often this happens. You'll hear designers, maybe you listen to a podcast about how other designers like run their business, and you hear them say something like, oh yeah, I get all of my clients from Facebook groups or from Instagram. And immediately you think like, okay, well, I'm not going to recreate the wheel here. If it works for them and they're saying it's the bee's knees, then I'll just copy that same path to success. Which honestly, I do have to say, there is some logic to that. And success does leave clues, and that can sometimes be a good strategy. But the problem is when we try to force strategies that don't fit us, and then it doesn't work, and then we assume that we are the problem. But what if actually you're not the problem? What if you just haven't found the right marketing strategy for you yet? So know this. It is okay if you don't like social media. It is okay if you also are like, oh, maybe I should run ads instead, but actually I don't have a budget for that. Both of these things are totally fine. And yes, even if you run a business, you do need a marketing strategy for your business, but it doesn't need to be the same one as mine, or it doesn't need to be the same one as those other designers that you're currently comparing yourself to. So yes, let's absolutely look at what works for other people. Success does leave clues, but remember, if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to work for your business. So take this as your moment to tell to yourself, I'm allowed to stop doing things that I hate, and I can be successful in a different way. And if you want, throw that little affirmation for yourself in the comments. Now, I understand that your business is vitally important to you, and I want to help you make it succeed. And today, we are going to make major progress in that direction. I have talked to so many of my students about why they want to start a web design business, and there's some pretty common themes. Often they maybe had a child and they want to be able to spend time at home with that child while still contributing meaningfully to their family income. Or maybe you're just really motivated to get ahead financially and know that being a website designer has incredible potential to help you reach those goals. Or maybe your relationship depends on it. And this one is me. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually true. I had met a very charming European guy in a bar in college. I moved abroad to be with him, as you do. Didn't speak the local language at all, and then realized, you know what, my best bet. I had done some like web design side hustling in university. And I realized, you know what, this web designer business, if I don't speak the language here, I'm not getting a normal job here. So I need to find a way to work with clients back home in English. And I think website design is the best way that I can do that. And if my business didn't work, I was quite literally going to have to end my relationship and go back home. So the stakes were a little bit high. So I'm happy to report years later, we are happily married, living in Switzerland. And it's because I got serious about solving my marketing problem. I could build websites, but I was a little confused on the marketing front. So marketing advice fails when it forces you into one prescribed way to market. And enter my most hated and yet also useful saying, there are many ways to skin a cat. So let's get creative. Let's look at all of your options. And then later on in the session, we're going to find the perfect marketing match for you. So let's first talk about how booked out designers actually get clients, because I think it's really important for you to see some like different examples and understand how other people actually do this in like real world example scenarios. So you can just like start getting ideas sparking about what could work for you too. And again, these are all different methods. So it's not like you just have to pick one thing. So here are a giant list. I would highly recommend screenshotting this slide. This is a giant list of all of the different marketing options that work for a website designer. All of these different ways, these are ways that people get clients all the time. Now, all of those marketing options, that slide's coming back if you need it in a second. All of these ways have different pros and cons, which we are going to get to. And in addition, some of these are a better fit for what you would both enjoy or dislike, but some are also a better or worse fit depending on the stage of business that you're at, what it is that you're selling. Are you selling like custom website design projects, or are you selling website templates? Also, there's different factors about like how quickly you need to get clients versus if you're building out like a really long-term client lead generation stream. So let's talk about the ones I found to be the most worthwhile. Now, I need to give a little story to explain what I'm about to tell you. So I actually never intended to teach designers how to be designers. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. But I was booked out in my web design business. I was getting like a client inquiry a day. And that's when I realized, okay, I need some other offering for people who I can't take on as like one-to-one custom clients. And so I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll create a course. I called it Square Secrets, and it's like the tech and the back end of like how you build amazing websites, designer quality websites on Squarespace. And my intention was when someone inquired and I didn't have space for them, or it wasn't like an ideal client fit, then I would send them towards the course. Now, the interesting thing about it was that all the students who took the course, we do like Q&A calls, and they all started asking me questions, not about like, okay, well, how do I change the spacing? Or how do I like, is this a good banner image or something? Which is kind of like the topic of the course. They all started asking me questions about like, oh, I made this amazing website and I showed it to my family and friends. And then they asked me if I could build one for them. And then they started asking me like, well, after your family and friends, how do you get clients past that? And what do you do about contracts? And what about taxes and all those things? And so then I created my course, Square Secrets Business, which teaches like, how do you actually run a web designer business? But the problem I had when I created it was this. I had blogged to get clients, and I love blogging, and it's really fun for me, and I enjoy it. But the problem is this. I was like, I shouldn't just go prescribe to every single web designer who takes this thing that they should blog, because I know that there's many other ways to get clients, but also I don't want to teach like a marketing strategy, which I haven't done successfully. You sure as hell do not want to learn how to market your business on Instagram from me. I can tell you that much. But I was like, but other people do that. And that is other people love and get most of their clients from Instagram. So what should I do? So I did was I asked all of my web designer friends who are very successful. I was like, hey, can you do an interview with me and kind of like explain how it is you get clients and like what your marketing strategy is and everything. And so that led to guest expert sessions on the following, which I'm about to show you. And translation, what I'm trying to say is these tend to work best for designers right now. So these are the different things that the guest experts talk about. I asked them again, like, pick your favorite 1 to 2 marketing strategies and tell me about them. And these are the ones that they chose, all the ones which are like underlined. So again, take a screenshot of this one too. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what are kind of more commonly booking out designers now. Again, some of these work better and worse than others, but these typically work very well for website designers at this time. So It is key to note. When I asked my designer friends, like, hey, how do you book out? And like, what's your marketing strategies? They all had like 1 to 2 marketing strategies, which fully booked out their business. If they were in an agency of like 15 people, then okay, yes, they might be using more marketing strategies. But for the designers who were like, oh, I'm just myself or a small team, they were doing 1 to 2 marketing strategies and getting all the clients they could need from that, which I hope just proves the point to you that you don't need to do all of these. Trying to do every single one of these things, or even just the ones that are underlined, would be absolutely impossible. And you will not be able to manage to do all of those things well. So just know that you don't need to pick 15 marketing strategies. You do just get to choose 1 or 2, and you'll actually probably be more successful for it. And of course, because nothing ruins joy more than juggling too many footballs and feeling massively overwhelmed. And again, when I do, so I really enjoy this. On my YouTube channel, we do interviews with past students. So they share their stories about like how they built their business, and people love them. If you go to pagebrunton.com/student-success, you can see a bunch of these, including these ladies. And again, Shannon's is to come. So yeah, but I know you're thinking, well, that's great for them, but what about me? Let's dive into what you should do. So let's talk about all the nasty marketing pitfalls to be aware of so that you can avoid them. So all of these marketing strategies are not made equal. There are specific quirks about each marketing strategy and sort of like mental frameworks that I've developed to think about them and help you pick the right one. Now, I do have to say, these were not things that I was really considering or thinking about when I was picking my first marketing strategy. Let me go back to that. When you're beginning, I mean, I've been in business for a while now. And so over time, I've just like, learned and developed these ideas. And I just want to kind of take some of these ideas and things that I was not thinking about and get you to start like noticing, because yes, enjoyment is a massive factor of how you should choose your marketing strategy, but there are some other things that you should also be paying attention to. So let's talk about building versus borrowing an audience. So if you go and podcast guesting is very different from creating your own podcast, even though it's both a podcast. So building up your own audience on a podcast takes months of hard work and a lot of time to create the podcast artwork and figure out how you even get it onto Spotify and record the episodes and edit the episodes and then upload them to wherever you're uploading them to. And that all takes a lot of time and effort before you've ever actually like gotten live in front of humans. And of course, when you first start a podcast, there's probably not going to be that many humans listening at the beginning. Now, if you go on someone else's podcast, that pretty much just takes the amount of time that it took you to pitch that podcast and actually do the interview. So like it's very different. Now, hosting your own podcast, excuse me, is like building your own audience. Whereas podcast guesting is basically borrowing an audience. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Pros to building: you build a very long-term relationship with that audience. If someone is literally listening to you, the average, I think, listen time on a podcast is like 22 minutes. And that is way far and away better than any other piece of content you're going to get. People build a long-term relationship with you because you're in their ears and they're listening to you typically for a long amount of time. And so that obviously leads to more trust building. And the other benefit of having your own podcast is that you can promote anything at any time to your people. Say you're having some sort of promotion, or maybe your prices are going up at the end of the year and you want to tell people and you want to get that message in front of your audience at that specific time. You have the ability to do that at any time, which is amazing because it's your podcast. You own it. The other thing which is useful is you can invite your audience to events at specific times. So again, similar to the like if you're running a promotion, or maybe you're like, hey, I've seen template shops do this. We're hosting like a 1 week, I don't know, website building party. And if you buy a template this week, you'll get invited and we can like help you build your website together with this template that we sell. And so again, if you have your own podcast, you have the ability to invite people to that thing at any time. Whereas the cons to building are obviously way more time consuming. It is also a much longer game. You are probably going to be building this podcast from zero, and you're going to have a very small audience at the start, and it will take consistently making this podcast and recording it and uploading it to slowly build the audience. Whereas if you borrow an audience, i.e. go on someone else's podcast, then here's the pros. You get in front of the right audience at the right time right away. Now, here's the thing. Say, for example, you specifically wanted to build websites, say your niche was like interior designers, and maybe there's already a podcast that exists, which is like about, and I've actually listened to this, so I know it exists. There's like podcasts about the business of being an interior designer, or just like, I don't know, things that interior designers listen to, like the, I don't know, Pharaoh and Ball podcast, for example. I don't know if that actually exists, but let's just say it does. You know that if you have interior designers as your ideal client, then you just need to go get on this one podcast and you are going to literally land in front of a bunch of your ideal clients. And that's incredible. And again, you get in front of them right away, and it's a large pool of people which already exist. It's an audience which is already there. And so that means you don't have this like months long slog of upfront effort in order to get in front of these people like it is when you build that audience from scratch. Now, the cons to borrowing, it is harder to sell higher price services if you just have one touch point with that audience because not as much trust is built. So, yeah, how do I say this? Obviously, it is, if you want to sell a web design package, let's say your packages are $5,000, then, it's not every day that we just go drop $5,000 with anyone. Whereas if you are selling a low cost item, then this honestly isn't as much of a problem because to go buy your $300, $400 template might not take like as much trust building as a $5,000 service, for example. The other thing to know is if you have some sort of like promotion or sale or something you want to push, you don't really have direct access to reach that audience anymore. The podcast host probably does not, as much as they love you, probably does not want you on their podcast every single week because then you're basically taking over their podcast. So obviously the like time sensitiveness of like how you can get a message across is not as good. Now, I've taken those marketing strategies and I've broken them down into like building an audience or borrowing an audience. So you can kind of get an idea of like which falls into which category. So the things to know, let me just explain bundles to you because that's one which maybe isn't as clear as the others immediately. So bundles are something which a couple of my students have done now, interestingly. And what it is basically like there's some bundle organizer and they email a bunch of people, business owners, and they're like, hey, we're putting together a bundle. Typically, it's like a very low price thing. So maybe everyone gives something worth like $25 or $100 or something. And then they put it into a bundle. And then it's like, okay, now it's 95% off or something. You get all these things for like as if you bought one thing. And so the benefit of that is you get the emails of the people who like download your thing. So in a way, it's like borrowing an audience, but then it also kind of becomes your audience because they get on your email list. So it's kind of something that moves them over. So just keep that in mind. So yeah. And then the building the audience thing. So with social media, obviously we all know the problem. Like if Instagram, Meta, whatever, Twitter decides like, oh, they did something against the rules, you can get kicked off the platform. So you like build the audience, but it's not like as owned, if that makes sense. So that's just the other thing to keep in mind with social media. So the other thing you want to think about is relationship marketing strategies, mid-scale marketing strategies, and mass marketing strategies. So I host events throughout the year, kind of like this, for aspiring website designers. And I always do a Q&A in them. And without fail, every single time I run one of those events, someone asks me if ads are a good solution to find clients. Now, throwing money at a problem can indeed be a great solution in many situations. But I want to look a little bit deeper at this for designers specifically. So a custom project with a website designer often ranges from like $2,000, $10,000, or even more than that, and takes, let's say on average, it takes you 2 weeks to complete a web design project. That was my personal timeline. Maybe yours is different, but let's just use that for example purposes. So with 52 weeks in a year, the maximum, if you were doing a project in 2 weeks, the maximum that you could take on is 26 clients in the year. If you took no vacation, which you probably do want some vacation. And so when you think about it that way, if you think about the math and the numbers on that, it's like you're not actually landing that many clients. Like you don't even have the time and capacity to do like 100 projects. And so the thing to know is this, is that an ad, say you throw $1,000 at Meta ads or YouTube ads or Google ads or whatever, then the ad could get you thousands of impressions. So hundreds of thousands, in front of hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, depends on how much money you spend really. If you're wondering what the hell's an impression, it means like, think of it as like in front of the eyeballs of. So you can get in front of, let's say 100,000 people. But And for many businesses, this marketing strategy is absolutely essential. If you are Nike, this is essential. If you're Squarespace, this is essential. um, but for a designer doing custom projects, this doesn't quite fit as well. And let me explain why. So if you're selling website templates for $200, this is a different conversation. But new designers don't often start off with template shops. They typically start off with custom web design projects, which I should say is a very smart move. And if you want me to explain why, feel free to pop that question in the chat and I will answer it after. So just know that this ads align perfectly with a business which needs thousands of sales or thousands of clients in a year. For a few reasons. One being that one, you have to pay for the cost of the ads, and then two, you need to pay for the cost of the ads manager, which I have in the past because I now run a scalable business model, and it cost me $3,000 a month in addition to the price of the ad. So definitely not the cheapest thing in the world. And most often, it's brand new designers asking me this question. And my answer is this, is that it is not cheap and also not really the most effective or aligned method for what it is that you're offering as a custom designer. So I don't typically recommend it. So I've worked with an ads manager before, as I mentioned, and my ads manager described ads like this. They said, ads add fuel to the fire, but if it wasn't burning before, ads won't light it. And if it was burning organically before, get ready for a bonfire. So the bottom line is this, is that ads are mass marketing, but they're not the most best or most budget friendly thing for beginners doing custom projects. So here is I've broken up our marketing strategies into like relationship marketing strategies, mid-scale marketing strategies, and mass marketing strategies. So again, the things on the far right, the mass marketing strategies, you run an ad, you can get in front of hundreds of thousands of people. You put your ad or you get a PR agency to get you mentioned in the New York Times. Again, you can get in front of hundreds of thousands of people. So those are the mass marketing strategies. And again, things which don't always align the best, especially when it comes to budget with a beginner and doing custom services. Then we have our mid-scale marketing strategies. So this has the ability to get you in front of not 100,000 people, but like, a decent number of people. And then we have on the left-hand side what I call relationship marketing strategies. And these are things where you are typically getting to know like one or a handful of people at a time. So networking, say you go to some event, you go to a conference, you go to whatever it is, you go to your co-working space and you start having conversations with people. You are building individual relationships with humans. Referrals is similar. It's like, okay, one client maybe refers you to two more clients. So again, it's like not a ton of people, but again, there's a lot more trust there because they've already worked with you. Partnerships can be similar. Again, like it was Sarah who built the partnership with the SEO agency. Pitching has the ability to get you in front of people. But again, how many pitches can you send in a day? Probably not 100,000. Or speaking, depending on the size of the audience, this could be relationship marketing. This could be like mid-scale marketing. But if you're starting off, it's probably going to be on like a smaller stage. Actually, one of my past students, that was fascinating. She literally started hosting events at the library and teaching about things related to websites. And that's how she got her clients. And I was like, that never crossed my mind as an option, but it's actually a really good idea. So I know you want clients, but believe me, you don't actually want 2,000 consultation calls booked. You would have a serious capacity and scaling problem on your hands if you did. So until you launch that website template shop, I would probably steer clear of the ad situation for now. As a designer who has the ability to take, again, 26 projects or 25 if you want to take a vacation, you can get away with a relationship marketing strategy or a mid-scale marketing strategy, which I'd say is a good thing, especially if you're introverted and you're like, I don't want my face plastered on an ad all over Times Square. Then great, this is no problem. Do know that you can just stick to the things that you feel comfortable with, which are maybe the relationship marketing strategies. Or if you're an extrovert and you're okay with putting your face on social media or whatever else you want to do, then that's fine. You can go for a mid-scale marketing strategy. So the other thing to think about is the difference between marketing for low-priced offers versus high-priced offers. So I have a question. When was the last time that you saw one 15-second TikTok and then clicked over to a website and bought something worth $10,000? Never? I thought so. Web design is typically a fairly high-priced service. Well worth it, as we all know. It is an exceptional and vital business asset, and it's a great marketing tool and credibility builder. And this is an important project in your client's life and business. Probably something that they have been saving up for months and maybe intending to do for months or years. And they would really like to trust the person that they're about to drop multiple thousands of dollars with, and they want to trust that you are going to take good care of them. So you need to build a lot more know-like trust with a potential client than a business selling a $10 gadget on the TikTok shop. So let's look at what does well and not so well in terms of building that relationship. So I've organized the marketing strategies into high trust marketing strategies on the left-hand side, and then low trust marketing strategies on the right-hand side, and then some in the middle. So on a sort of continuum. So let me go to low trust first. No, I'll do high trust first. So, okay. Networking, referrals, speaking. Here's why they're high trust strategies. So networking is you go meet a person and have a one-to-one conversation. The chance that you book that client is significantly higher than if they were one of 100,000 people who saw your ad. So just because like you are a real human that they've interacted with, it automatically builds a level of trust. And maybe they also like you because you're personable too. And so that tends to mean that you don't need to get in front of as many people in order to get clients, if that makes sense. Same thing with referrals. If your client refers you to another person and says, I had the most amazing time with Ben, then obviously, Ben, you've just been highly raised in that person's eyes, and therefore more legit looking, and therefore they're more down to book you. Or speaking, if you get on some sort of stage, then automatically it like creates this aura that this person is amazing when people stand on a stage all of a sudden. And so that also really builds your trust and credibility, if that makes sense. And then we come through the strategies, which are like medium level. Again, they are organized specifically in this way. And then we get over to the low trust strategies. And so let me explain why these are more low trust strategies. So freelancer platforms and pitching specifically. If you go to a business and you pitch them, it is very different. And because it's clear that like you're not as in demand and they didn't come seek you out and were like, oh my gosh, Jessica seems like the most amazing person. I want her to build my website. Instead, it's like you coming to them. And so it just a little bit like alters the playing field there. Same thing with freelance platforms. It is a good place to get started with and everything, but typically you don't get as high priced of projects on there. And again, it's more like you are pitching yourself for jobs often. Sometimes they come to you, but other times you're pitching for jobs. And so again, it's just like a little bit, the dynamic is like not where I would love it to be for you. It's even better when they are coming to you and being like, I would love to work with you specifically. And again, as I mentioned, ads and PR, this could get you in front of hundreds of thousands of people, but how much trust do you really build from that? Not so much. So again, things like meeting in person, speaking, referrals, those are much higher trust strategies, which again, work better for higher price services. So quick note on conversion rates. So let's say you get in front of, 100 people with a low trust strategy, for example, versus you get in front of 100 people with a high trust strategy. Because the conversion rates, that is the number of people who like you talk to who actually book you, conversion rate's going to be much higher with the high trust strategies. The other thing to note is that it's typically harder to price yourself in the premium category if you're doing the low trust strategies. So just keep that in mind too. So as we are selling high price services, you will find it easier to convert and sell higher price projects by using marketing strategies that are higher trust strategies. So if you're currently having clients, but you feel stuck in low rates land, then consider an option on the left of the chart. Now, I know that I literally just gave you about 43 things to think about. So if you're thinking, Paige, just give me the answer. Just tell me what to do. Let's make that happen. Let's talk about how to choose the right marketing strategy for you. So I made you a quiz, which makes your life so easy. You can go to pagebrenton.com/client-quiz. And this is my which client finding method matches your personality type quiz. So it has been intentionally designed to get to know you as a person, your preferences socially, and also in life and in work. And how you operate in life is often a really good indicator of what might suit you as a marketing method in your business. And interestingly, as I mentioned, I always do those student success story interviews, and it is clear as day. When I get on those calls and I'm talking to them and they're explaining things to me, I'm like, yeah, I get why you're successful. It doesn't surprise me. And again, I hear them say things like, oh yeah, well, I love to make friends, or I love to make reels, or I love not being in the spotlight, or I love to write, or I love to talk to interesting people or bring people together. And they market their business according to what they enjoy. And some of my students, plenty of my students actually do use social media. So I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm just saying if you don't want to, you don't have to. But again, the students who are the most successful, who I do these interviews with, I'm always seeing this. Like with everyone that I do, I'm like, yeah, well, they're marketing in alignment with what they would enjoy. So, all of the marketing strategies that we've talked about, they have their pros and cons. And myself and thousands of students and other successful designers have had success with truly even the most obscure marketing strategies, like speaking at libraries. So, truly anything could work. But if every single day you look at your marketing on your to do list and you think, oh my gosh, I'd rather go back to having a boss, then that is a problem which needs to be solved. So, it will work if you enjoy it. And take myself and my YouTube channel, for example. So, in my free time, I binge courses on YouTube. I listen to interviews with Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber in the world. And I just love looking and observing and like strategizing my YouTube channel. And if I didn't enjoy that marketing strategy, I wouldn't spend all that like extracurricular time doing those things, and the channel wouldn't be doing as well as it is. So for me, YouTube is something I really enjoy, and therefore it is a strategy which I use. Now, that might not be right for you. Maybe you would think, oh my Lord, I would rather die than put my face on a YouTube channel. Then that's okay. You don't need to do it. So take the quiz. Again, it's at paigebrunton.com/client-quiz. See which strategy most aligns with what you would enjoy, and then let's move forward from there. And now I just want to give you a warning. The quiz can give you social media as a result because it is a marketing option that exists. So obviously, if you came to this event because you dread social media, pick your answers accordingly. Don't answer the question like, what do you like to do at parties? As like, I love to post it on social. That would not, you're going to get that as the answer then. So yeah, the other thing I would love to know is what result you got. So feel free to pop that in the comments. And I also have 3 quick bonus tips just between us, real quick. So straight from the mouth of entrepreneurial legend Richard Branson during our tennis match, in which he absolutely kicked my butt, even though he has 40 years on me. He said, joy is the most essential ingredient to success. So if after you've gone through all these pros and cons and you've picked one, but you've tried it and it just feels like a chore to you, then just know it's not the right one. And if Richard Branson built a business based off joy, then I'm here to just, follow that path to success. The other thing to know is try it, but don't marry it right away. Pick a marketing strategy, give it a go, see how much you enjoy doing it, learning about it, etc. And it is okay to change your mind. If you have made a mistake, don't just keep walking down that same mistake road because your ego will be too hurt by admitting an error. The path to success is not a perfectly straight path. It is littered with lessons, helping you make better decisions, and leading you on a slightly wiggly adventure, which does indeed get you to your ultimate goal. So do try to enjoy the adventure. Now I want to share with you my favorite quote. This is from Tim Ferriss. He said, a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. And I hope you just felt that because I love that one. If you swap the word conversations for tasks, then I think this makes my point beautifully. So there is a difference between something being new and uncomfortable and something like you genuinely dread it after giving it a good try. So all of these marketing strategies are likely to feel uncomfortable when they're new because it's new, and that is okay. But long-term dread is not okay. So just keep an eye out for that one. So again, if you haven't taken the quiz yet, you can do so at paigebrunton.com/client-quiz. And I would love, love, love to answer your questions. So let me see if you have any for me. Here's one. Lauren, stop screen share there. Laura, not Lauren. Oh, here. What are your thoughts on focusing on refreshing/revamping sites for people and market that by mocking up a new landing page for them and share what you could do for their business as an actual example? Hell yes. Okay, so this is great. So this works really well. Say you want to use pitching as your marketing strategy, Laura, then this is great. I will say this, coming back to conversion rates. If you send really generic pitches, then maybe it takes you 40 pitches or something until you get a client. Whereas if you do something like this, it obviously takes you more time. But it will lead your conversion rate to be higher. We get so many pitches in our inbox every single day. And there was one topic I actually did this for me, except he wanted to write my YouTube scripts for me. Anyways, he wrote me an entire YouTube script. Now, I don't know, maybe he did that for a few places. I'm not sure. But it did seem pretty tailored to me. And I actually replied to the email. I didn't want him to, I like to write my own YouTube scripts. But anyways, kind of beside the point. The other thing which I will say is, okay, so this is good, and I would just be very conscious and, like, pay attention to what is your conversion rate on that, to make sure that this is, like, worth your while. So maybe you do some, like, without this, maybe do some with this, and then you're paying attention to, like, okay, is this worth the more amount of time which it's taking me? The other thing which I would suggest is if you get Loom, Loom.com, and you record your screen and the person's website, you don't actually need to rebuild their website and like remock it up, if that makes sense. But you could just say like, hey, here are the things that I would do to like make your website amazing. Or I'm noticing that you probably want people to, I don't know, buy your thing on your website, or you want them to join your email list, or you want them to whatever. And actually, I think if you did this, then that would like get you a lot further along the road to that goal. So yeah, that's just some things to think about, if that makes sense. So let's see if we have another one. Oh, am I correct? Laura, you know all the details. Look at you. Yes. Am I correct that you'll be hosting a 3-day online bootcamp this spring? If so, are you able to share the dates? May need to take time off work. Love that commitment, Laura. Okay, good. Yes. So I host the Profitable and Productive Web Designer Bootcamp twice a year. And you're very lucky if you're watching this right now because it is coming up. Again, it's only twice a year. It is coming up the 31st. I think it's 31st of March, 1st and 2nd of April. If you get on my email list, paigebrunton.com/subscribe, I will send you the details of the bootcamp. It is basically like this, except 3 days of it. And then also we do like Q&As and there's a giveaway and it's a really good time. So highly recommend if you want more help and assistance with your web design business, come to that. It's totally free and we have a fantastic time. So yeah. Let me see. I am curious. Love those. Ooh. What? I'd love to quit, but I can't see the whole. Oh, there we are. I'd love to quit, but don't clients go to Instagram or other social media for confirmation that you're a legit professional? They absolutely can. There's no question. So you get to choose. I mean, I've seen plenty of website designers who have no social media links on their website at all, and they still get clients. So like, yes, it is one way that they can verify that you're a legit human and professional. There's also other ways though too. Like maybe you decide that, oh, you know what? Actually, I want to have like a Google Places and then like Google reviews, for example. Or maybe I want to, I don't know, post a blog, and that can also be a lot of trust building. So like you don't need to always trust build in the exact same way. And again, if you go look at my Instagram right now, Instagram.com/Paige Brunton, I think, then you can see an example of like what you can do to kind of show that like you exist, but by the way, you don't do Instagram. If that's, or you could do that on any platform, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Temi, I'm so sorry if I butcher your name. I really apologize. Temi Tope asked, does it make sense to advertise for a new website template shop? And is it necessary to niche down for website template shops? Okay. It absolutely makes sense to market for a new website template shop. Yes. So the biggest mistake that I see template shop owners make is they put all the time and effort into making the template shop and they get the math. They don't understand the like relationship marketing, mass marketing thing that we talked about. So if your current client funding strategy is like you going to co-working spaces or cafes or events or something and having conversations with people, that doesn't scale well. And with the template shop, if you sell your templates for say $500 and you're selling your one-to-one services for $5,000, then you need 10 template sales for every one custom client that you would get to make the same amount of money, which obviously means if you need 10 sales now instead of one sale, you need to do something more to the right on that like mid-scale or mass scale marketing strategy in order to get enough sales to make the same and then more money than you were making with your custom services. So just keep that in mind. And again, biggest mistake I see, and I've talked to plenty of people, launch a template shop. Template shops, let me just say, can make incredible income and are a fabulous business model. But again, if you do the marketing right, you just need to realize that like your job is less build custom websites and it's more like marketing, because you now have an unlimited scalable product. Okay. Then your second bit of your question, is it necessary to niche down for a website template shop? You can or you can't. I'd say that this goes both for your web designer services and for your template shop. You can choose to niche or not niche. Either one is totally fine. I will just say that when you niche, you typically can build the business faster. But I have plenty of students who have been successful with and without a niche. If you want the most incredible story ever about niching, blows my mind. There's a girl named Charlotte. If you search on go to my student success stories page, look for Charlotte. I think there might be a couple Charlottes actually. Anyways, one of the Charlottes, she booked out her business for an entire year just from getting so specific on her niche. It was amazing. You have to go watch the entire interview because it's really interesting. Wahid said, thank you for these pearls. Talk's been very informative. My question is, now that you have scaled your business, how much of your time is now allocated to working on your business as opposed to working in the business? Or what percentage of your time is still allocated to website design? Such a good question. Yeah. So it is not just me working in the business anymore. I actually have an entire team. So it is like, yeah, more than one person. So coming back to, if you go into some sort of like unlimited scalable marketing or unlimited scalable product, course, template, code template shop, software, whatever, you spend significantly more of your time because again, you have an unlimited scalable product. You spend a lot more of your time on the actual like marketing than you do on whatever the coding or the building the templates on the template shop or whatever. If you're curious about template shop things, by the way, I have like 4 interviews with Erica from Big Cat Creative. She runs one of the biggest template shops. And that could be really interesting for you on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I do still do website design. I literally I want to do more. That's the thing. I do still build websites for my family and friends. I did my own website redesign last year, which was so much fun, and I really miss doing it. So yeah, but a huge amount of my time, and anyone who has an unlimited scalable business model, they're going to be spending a lot of time on marketing. Alex Tracy asked, what are your thoughts on linking web design services with other services, i.e. digital marketing? Is that too broad to be niched? No, Alex, this can be incredible. So how do I say? This is the beauty of this is you can actually, you can niche in this way. So you don't need to niche necessarily by like service that you offer. Like if you offer website design, you and a bajillion other people offer website design on Squarespace. And so you're not really I wouldn't really call that a niche necessarily. But when you're like, okay, digital marketing and website design, that's actually like making you more niche. And you could even do that within a niche. You could do that within a certain like marketing style or for a certain type of ideal client or in a certain area. So yeah, I think that basically what you're going to do, Alex, when you do that is you will increase the lifetime value of a customer to you. You will increase like how much you make per project. Just the thing which I would be very cautious of in this situation, especially because digital marketing is like an ongoing service, is okay. Now every person's different, but I will just say for me, I find it very stressful when I need to serve. I like to do things very well. And when I need to do 100 things at the same time, I don't enjoy that. And so I did in my business, it was like, okay, I serve one client at a time. And that was great because I could just focus on that one person. Whereas if you're going to do digital marketing and website design, then you're probably going to be needing to do, can't speak English. You're like, that's an ongoing service, which then you're going to have to do website design with it too. So just know that you're going to be like balancing 2 things. As long as that's fine with you, then it's great. So just keep that in mind. This can also work with like if you want to offer copywriting too or something else. So yeah. Alice asked, hello from Japan. Hi. Thank you for the valuable information. May I ask when is the right time to increase the service price? Good question. Okay. There is no one right and wrong way to do this. I will give you some like kind of indicators though. And I'll also tell you let me start with the story. When I was first starting as a website designer, I was charging like $2,500 for a project. And because I hadn't figured out my marketing yet, I was also doing projects for an agency and they would just like bring me projects. And that was good, but there were some downsides to it. But they also knew that I was like doing my own projects too. And one of the guys who worked for the agency, he looked at my website and he saw my prices and he's like, Paige, literally, like the quality of your work is so good. We've worked with you and your work is like working with you is also really fabulous and pleasant and everything. Like you could literally double your prices and see no difference in the number of people inquiring with you and booking with you. And I was like, no way. But then he planted the seed and I was like, I guess I got to try it. So I just was like, you know what? This is just a test. I'm just going to go on my website. I'm just going to like literally doubled it from $2,500 to $5,000. And was like, I'll just wait and see. And I had been tracking, I had this like Google sheet where I was tracking my success metrics, where I was like, okay, how many blog post views did I get this month? And how many inquiries did I get this month? And how many of those did I convert into a sale and everything? And so I know I like kept doing that as I doubled the prices. And the guy was totally right. I was like, wow. So now I just want to say this is that your quality of website that you produce obviously needs to match what it is that you're charging. And the quality of experience of working with you needs to fit too. But I do find if you come to bootcamp actually in a couple weeks, then that's a good way where you can like see a bunch of other designer stuff and then like compare like, okay, what's their quality of work like and everything and what's their like pricing like, and then get kind of like trying to see where you like fit in, if that makes sense. The other thing to know, obviously, if you're getting more inquiries than you can take on, that's time to up your pricing, or also find a more scalable method that doesn't need to necessarily be templates or software or something. It could be like you're doing VIP days or you're doing these like more condensed projects, or maybe you're like doing semi-custom projects where it's like you have a template from your own template shop or from someone else's template shop, either really works, and you customize that template to the client. So you kind of have a base you're starting with, which just speeds up the project timeline, if that makes sense. So that could be another option for you too. So yeah. Okay, I think I have time for one more. What do you think about Pinterest marketing from Vanessa? Great question. Okay, so because what you're producing is a visual thing and Pinterest is a basically visual search engine, I think it very well aligns with website design. So I think it can be really great. I will say that for myself, it's one of those things which we did back in the day and then we don't do it so much anymore. I don't want to say that Pinterest isn't good. I do think that Pinterest can be fantastic. But yeah, it just wasn't what I did a few different marketing strategies and then realized, I actually only need to do like one or two to book at my business. It was one of the ones that fell to the wayside. Now, for other people, it is very successful. So I do think that with probably every marketing strategy, it's also a factor of like, how much do you enjoy it? And therefore, how much are you interested in learning about it and strategizing and observing Pinterest and figuring out like what's working for them and then, using that to inform your own decision making. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Pinterest marketing. So yeah, can be fabulous, but I'm not personally an expert at that. But I do talk to experts about that. That is one of the things in my course. I talk to an expert about it because she knows better than I do. So yeah. Okay. That is all the time that we have for today. I hope you really, really, really enjoyed this. And yeah, if you'd like more, do feel free. Come to bootcamp in a couple weeks, or alternatively, go take the quiz. I would be really curious to hear how that works out for you. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your time, and I will see you on the next one. Bye all.